We recently repainted the exterior of our house a lighter body color, darker color for the pop outs, and a dark blue for all the exterior doors and garage, which I absolutely love. But there was one thing that just no longer seemed to fit with the new colors, and that's our house address number. It's dull, faded, and just not easy on the eyes. And that's why in this video I'm going to be replacing this ugly house number sign with this beautiful one that matches the new exterior colors. So if you want to see how I made it, stick around and also consider liking and subscribing if you find this helpful. First things first, I needed to find a font to use for the numbers that I really liked, and I wasn't really feeling any of the fonts already installed on my computer, and so for that I went to 1001fonts.com. It allows you to search and browse through all kinds of fonts and download and install the fonts you like. I'm not affiliated with them at all, and there are so many other websites that do the same thing. I looked around until I found a font that really spoke to me. I landed on a font called Orsident Casual, and I particularly like the heavy style of that font. You can see the text previewed with all the different styles, and it also allows you to enter the text of your choice to preview. So I entered my house number to see how it would look like, and I gotta say I was immediately sold. So I decided to download the TTF file for that font. After downloading, you simply click on the downloaded file and you'll be prompted to install it by clicking the install button. But in my case, since I'd already previously installed it, I see a replace button, and so no additional action is needed on my end. Once installed, I happen to have Photoshop, but you can use whatever other image text processing software you have. Within Photoshop, I created a file with a transparent background, and using the typing tool, I can now use the font I just installed. I typed the address number, and then I also increased the font size to 100. I then cropped the image as close to the text as possible along all four sides. This will be important for making sure we print out the right size for the numbers we'll be using as templates in the following steps. Finally, just save the image you created as a PNG file with the file name of your choice, and we'll be coming back to that file shortly. But first, since I plan on printing these numbers and save my printer's ink, I want to change the numbers from filled to just outlined. And to do that, I went with another website called vectordad.com, which has a tool to turn an image to its outlined version of it, which would definitely achieve what I was going for. I simply uploaded the image of the address number, and it immediately got to work and converted it over to its outlined version. I simply then downloaded the converted image to now use it in the next step. To print the outline version of the address number, I opened up a new Excel document and dragged the new image to the top left corner of the spreadsheet. I then resized the image to the final actual dimensions I wanted for my sign, making the total length about 18.5 inches wide and a height of about 6 1/3 inches. And once it was resized, I then printed the Excel spreadsheet, keeping in mind that it would take several pages to print given the size of the numbers, and this is to be expected. The final printout took a total of 4 pages, so I lined up the numbers on the table. And then my lovely daughter Kaya took it upon herself to help me tape up the pages, making up the entire address number, and making sure each individual number lined up correctly. Once that was done, we simply cut out each individual number along the outer borders as they would be used as templates for the final wood cutouts. We traced each number onto a single 3/4 inch board, and then I got to work on the scroll saw to cut each one of them out. With the numbers cut, I also cut out a board for the numbers to sit on and a couple of pieces to add for the top and bottom. Off camera, I painted all the pieces, and after they were all dry, I used 1/4 inch dowels to attach the top and bottom of the sign and did a quick test fit, which was very successful. With that, it was time to glue it all up. Since it will be outside, I needed a waterproof glue, so I used Type Bond 3. I put a little glue in each of the dowel holes and then also along the edges. I then added the dowels to the top and bottom holes and then attached them together, clamped them, and waited a couple hours for them to dry. After drying, it was time to add and position the individual address numbers onto the sign. I used a couple of scraps as spacers to make sure the numbers would align perfectly. After adding wood glue to the bottom of each number, I brad nailed them to the board, adding clamping pressure while the wood glue dried. I removed the spacers, but now I had to deal with all the holes I made on the individual numbers. I simply took some wood filler and filled the holes. Off camera, I lightly sanded the repaired areas, and after completely drying, I touched them up with paint, hiding all the holes. And folks, that was all. Now it was time to install, but in my case, I didn't want to use any screws on my newly painted exterior walls. And since the previous numbers were on flat concrete, I simply got some outdoor grade Velcro squares to attach the new sign on top of the old one, covering it up. And the results were amazing. And if you got this far, please consider liking and subscribing for more projects like this. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.